Good morning, everybody. My name is Sabelo Kwala. I'm an HR consultant here at HR Talk. And today we are going to be covering recruitments, do's and don'ts. Just if you can confirm for me if one, everybody can hear me, and secondly, if everybody can see my screen clearly. Okay, great stuff. So basically, as I'd mentioned, we are going to be covering recruitment do's and don'ts. This is a quite interesting topic because every organization, whether it's a small organization or big, it is a process that has to take place or it's a process that has to be done. So it is quite important to understand how to do it effectively, and how to avoid don'ts and how to avoid things that could be costly towards the company, whether it's financially or and time-wise. So if we get straight into it, just 1 second. Okay. Firstly, it's just this is the first page basically going through the topics that we're going to be covering today in this training. So the first one is interviews, the pre-employment checks, what can you and cannot ask for, the importance of reference checking, retracting offers of employment, can we do this, the pitfalls and the cost of recruiting badly. So basically, these are going to be the topics that we're going to be covering today, on the which by the end of this training, we should be able to distinguish all this and understanding exactly what to do and what not to do, and basically avoiding mistakes that could be done that could be costly. So the last one, which is pitfall cost. So what should we avoid doing wrong? Okay. So know what you want. I think genuinely, besides even just talking about recruitment, it is quite important to know exactly what you're looking for. With that, it actually helps distinguish exactly what you need. So firstly, if you're looking into recruiting, the moment you understand clearly what you need, it makes it easier to actually know exactly what you're looking for in terms of skills. So before you even reach out to the publics, before recruiting, you know exactly what you want. So ensuring that you have an in-depth understanding of the role of the hiring for will. Oh, okay, cool. So ensuring you have an in-depth understanding of the role you're hiring for will make the rest of the recruitment process easy and faster, since you'll quickly be able to determine who has the experience required to successfully fulfill this role. So just to make a simple example, so if we are an organization and perhaps maybe you are for instance, let's say you're in a delivery a trade or sector. So if you're looking for a specific driver, maybe it's a specific code, maybe it's a code 10. So the moment you understand that from the get-go, before you even advertise that post, you know exactly whom you're looking for. So even when you're putting that excuse me, the ad out, or you advertising, you know exactly whom you're looking for and what is expected that they are going to be doing. So it also ensures the candidates have a clear purpose and the planned goal for the position when they join in, removing any ambiguity on where the fit with the wider business objective. So even when the person comes into the organization, they know exactly what's expected of them. They know the role that they're going to be jumping to, and they're knowing exactly what is expected for them to do. So there's no ambiguity, so that there's no certain confusion when someone applied, and by the time they get into to the business, they're expected to be doing something, and now they're doing something else. So the key questions to answer: why is the new employee needed? What duties and responsibilities will the successful candidate have? What skills or abilities are required to succeed in the role? Where does the role fit within the wider business structure? So before we even go into advertising, within these four key questions, the moment we understand that, it makes the process quite easy and quite effortless, because we know exactly when the person gets in, exactly what they're going to be doing, their responsibilities. And it makes it easy as well for the candidate as soon as they come in, because they know exactly what they'll be responsible for. And within that being responsible, they know exactly what success looks like. So they know exactly, if I do 1, 2, 3, I've achieved what I've been brought in the business for. Okay. So moving along, so preparing the job description and the person specification. Okay. the the role you're recruiting for. So number one, try to include the key responsibility in the job description to give a good idea for what the role involves. So again, as we've mentioned it before, the key responsibilities. So what when an employee comes in and perhaps maybe they're given a sort of other job title, it's usually an umbrella to what they're going to be doing. So if someone has a job title, it really doesn't cover everything that they're going to be doing. So the moment we put out or we make it quite clear what the job responsibilities is. So within the job description, so if I'm employing an HR consultant, if I include the key responsibilities in the description, it makes it easy for us to know what we're looking for and the person who's coming in to know exactly what's expected from them. Okay. So as well as giving a feel for who they'd be working with and what success looks like. So obviously when somebody comes in, it's usually a little bit awkward, so they might not know exactly where to fit in. So if we're going to employ someone, we need to understand or have an idea where they're going to fit, who perhaps they would be working with, and as we had mentioned, success looks like. So if they've worked or they did exactly what expected of them, success will look like this. Okay. The type of candidate needed to fill it. So number two is person specifications. Help you characterize the type of skills and mindsets that will flourish in the role. So again, we're going to skills. So somehow we understand that if we're putting someone in, we're putting them in to fill a certain position. But somehow we need to be quite clear with the skills that we're looking for, because at the end of the day, we can't just fill a position in the name of filling the position. We need to know exactly if we're looking maybe for a finance accountant, we need to know exactly, we need to be clear what is expected or the skills that are required by that finance manager. Or if perhaps we're looking for maybe we're looking for a payroll consultant, we need to understand quite clearly what skills are needed from that person. Okay. So if we're moving on to number three, choose a way to advertise. So there's a vast number of places that you could advertise for post, especially now in nowadays, internet is all over and most people use it quite efficiently. But we're just going to focus on these 1, 2, 3, 4 places we could advertise. So we're going to look into job sites. We're going to look into advertising internally. We're going to look in advertising with social media and special support. So these are the 4 places we're going to be looking at today where we advertise for our post. Okay. So if we're looking at job sites, the benefits are a quick way to gain widespread visibility of your vacancy to thousands of registered job seekers. So that's the plus of utilizing job sites. But there is also a drawback. So you may well end up with hundreds of CVs sifted through, and it's likely you'll get a lot of random application as people spam their CVs out in hope of uptake. So the reality is when we advertise, especially with job sites, a whole lot of people, it goes to a number of people. And being at HR Talk for as long as I've been, we've done recruiting for a number of organizations, and you get to realize that sometimes with a low employment rate that we have in South Africa, people would always take a chance. So regardless if the job specs or the requirements are quite clear that we're looking maybe for these specific skills, you'd find that people would always try their luck. And because in most cases, a person would basically say, I've got nothing to lose. So you might put a post out there which has a specific requirements or skills that you're looking for, and then you might end up getting maybe tens and thousands of CVs, of which within that group of CVs, you'd find that maybe the people that you wind up shortlisting, or maybe who might have the skills that you're looking for, maybe out of 100 CVs, maybe only 5 have the skills that you're looking for. So that's basically the drawbacks that you might have in job sites. Okay. So moving in advertising internally, the benefits are the person you're looking for could be right under your nose, saving time and money on recruiting cost, motivating employees through opportunity provision, plus already integrated to the culture and the rhythm of the business. So that's basically the plus side of advertising internally. It's the fact that within an organization, you might find that maybe the skills that you require for that specific post, you might already have that person within the organization. And the greatest plus with that is the cost to actually promoting someone are slightly much less compared to recruiting somebody new and pulling somebody in. And you're quite familiar with the person. The person is already in the organization, that they're quite familiar with everybody. So it's quite easy. So the transition from them to moving maybe from that one position to another, it's usually quite easy. It's not a hassle, and it's quite simple. And you already know their strong side and maybe their weaknesses. So it makes it quite easy. Okay. So, but we also have to look at the drawbacks because we always have to look at the cons and pros. So looking at with internally, it's for some roles, bringing in a fresh perspective or a new set of skills can help add depth to the capabilities in your team. So always promoting within is not always maybe the greatest of things sometimes, because sometimes you might find that we are set in our ways in an organization. We are used to a certain way of doing things. So maybe recruiting from outside and bringing maybe a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes comes with a fresh set of perspective, of which they might come with ideas that might be great and maybe improve the way we work as a team. So advertising internally, maybe that might take away from that, maybe having a fresh set of eyes that might help us do things differently or improve as a team. Okay. So let's look at social media. So the benefits of social media, we have things like LinkedIn, which is #1 social media platform for recruiting and screening candidates with more than 350 professionals present. There's also Facebook, and also have Twitter, allow specific targeting of content to the skills expertise required for a role. So we can actually use a whole lot of organization does use LinkedIn because you find that there's a vast number of professionals there who have put up their profiles, of which you find that it makes the recruitment process quite easy, because in some instances it's not even a matter of advertising. You find that people already have their profile. And you might find that the skills that you're looking for, you might actually find the person right there with their profile. And it usually helps in terms of scarce skills, because the recruitment process is challenging on its own, but it's usually a bit hectic if maybe you're looking for a specific skill, which is quite a rare skill. So I'm putting out a vast platform, or trying to put out and maybe investing in LinkedIn, it usually helps attracting the talent that you might need. Okay, so the drawbacks of social media: your company page needs to show good quality content. The platform is much for candidates to review if it's the right workplace for, as much as it is for right for you. So with things like LinkedIn, you get to realize that as much as the potential employer, you're looking into finding, maybe you're looking for the right person, but it is level the playing field, because you find that potential employees do the very same well with the organization. So if the company does not have a quality content within the space, it usually would demotivate potential employees to come in. So I think that's a drawback, that the business has to kind of invest in itself to show that it is a safe space to work in. There are opportunities there, and people who are within the organization are quite happy. Okay, so because if we just look at reading the last part on this part, it's in today's transparent digital world, a company's employment brand must be both highly visible and highly attractive, because candidates now often find employer, not the reverse. So as I've mentioned, that it's not just the employers now or employees, potential employees, who need to attract potential employers, but vice versa, because before an employee or a potential employee takes up or goes into a certain organization, they do somewhat, I would call, reviews to distinguish if maybe the organization that they might be interested in, how good it is, the people already there. Are they happy? Is it a toxic maybe work environment? So I think that's what we find within the social media space if we're advertising using social media. Okay. Okay, so seek special support. Okay, so if you're really struggling to fit everything under during, to fit everything in during the process of recruitment, you might want to consider outsourcing to a recruitment agency, especially if you're serious about finding the candidate that ticks the right boxes. So you'd find that within some organization, the hassle of the recruitment process is it's a hassle that they do not want to deal with, of which they in some they would wind up investing or reaching out or outsourcing the entire process to to recruitment agencies, because they'll basically just trust them with the process and in hopes that they will find a candidate that ticks the box exactly what they're looking for. So the benefits of using these sort of recruitment agencies is a good recruitment agency can take care of everything without forcing you to relinquish control of the important decision. Recruitment companies place hundreds of thousands of talented job seekers with satisfied employers. Specialist divisions ensure you have some who know your sector and trade the process to your needs. So I think that's the benefit that comes with these agencies, because especially if it's a good agency, you'd find that they basically take care of everything, because you'd find that they know exactly they know exactly what the potential employer is looking for, and they have a vast a number of job seekers of which they know exactly the skills that they possess, maybe potentially which sector they might flourish in. So it makes it easy. And again, with the so-called recruitment agency, they do not take away the last decision for the employer. So as much as they jump in and they assist the employer, but somehow maybe when it comes to who are we taking, who's the actual person who's going to be employed, maybe that decision would be made by the employer. But what this recruitment agency would do would basically shortlist people and basically maybe, let's say, give the potential employer five candidates who possess the skills that the employer requires, and then maybe the last decision, who they employ, the decision will make. So it makes the process quite easy, and it takes the hassle and the headache from the employer away. Okay, so if we look at the drawbacks from the recruitment agencies, recruitment companies understand the costs associated with using recruitment consultant can be off-putting, in particular to a small business. However, using a specialist can both straighten and speed up the process, giving valuable time back to achieve more with the business. So the recruitment agencies do not take the hassle of recruitment of the organization just because they're just being nice agencies. They do this at a cost because they understand that it's a quite it's a process. It's a process which is a long process, which is time consuming. So for instance, for an organization which is it's a small organization, the cost that come with utilizing the recruitment agencies could be quite off-putting. But at the end of the day, as much as it could be quite costly, the reality is it does speed up the process. It ensures that the process is done correctly and it is done efficiently. So that's us looking at, if we're looking at seeking specialists to support the organization in terms of the process of recruiting. Okay. So at the moment, I'm just going to pause just to confirm, maybe at this point in time, do you have any questions, Charles, on the chat box? Nothing at the moment. And perhaps if anyone at this moment has a question, they're more than welcome to raise up their hand or unmute themselves or ask a question. Or if not, we are going to continue forwardly. Okay. So with the lack of questions, I am going to proceed. So if we're going to company advertisement, advertisement help recruiters build a solid brand identity that attracts efficient manpower. You can go with the traditional approach by using print media or use digital media for better results and reduce costs. So for the fact that things like maybe advertising on newspaper might be seem like ancient way of advertising, but it's still efficient. Some companies still prefer it because the costs that come with it are not so expensive, and somehow it still does attract talent. So some companies would still opt to use your traditional ways, maybe using digital media to advertise, maybe advertising on radio or maybe a local paper. So you'd find that some organizations do that. And using job portals, with the growing use of the internet, job portals have come to play a crucial role in the connecting companies with candidates. These portals are preferred platform for job seekers looking for better career prospects, so they make excellent source for recruiters to tap the top industry talent. So you'd find that most organizations have invested in job portals where, as I did mention, that the internet, not most people in this day and age utilize internet to its max. So you'd find that some organizations have invested in job portals, of which where maybe if you go to an organization website, you'd find that there would be an icon where it speaks about vacancies. It would show the vacancies that there are. It would show maybe the requirements and the process skills. So you'd find that most organizations have utilized this tool, which kind of helps them attract talent. And with that, it makes the process quite easy because it's their actual portal. So if they have any vacancies coming up or at the moment, they're advertising that. And within advertising, that also include skills that are required. And they would also include the process, maybe how does one apply. You'd find that maybe they would include, maybe you can attach your CV and submit. So you'd find that with the job portals, most organizations utilize this because it makes the process quite easy of attracting talent and getting those CVs coming in if they have a vacancy within the organization. Okay. So with company career sites, so a mobile-friendly branded career site that conveys your work culture and integrates with the company social profiles not only makes it easy for potential employees to apply, but also attract top industry talent with a professional theme. Attractive headers, compelling content, and engaging employee videos. Okay, so I think that also covers with the portals and career sites, where it also works similarly, where you'd find that if a company has a career site, it also makes it easy when an employer maybe looks specifically for HR talk and they'll go under the career site, they'll find job vacancies that are currently going on, and it attracts not just anybody else, but it might even attract the actual talent that you're looking for. And you'd find that there will, within those career sites, there'll be employees video who are within the organization who kind of shed some light maybe on the work culture, how it works, and maybe how it's like being, working in that specific company. An integrated career site also eliminates the hassle of manual job posting while improving the candidate experience dramatically with the customized application process. I think we also covered this, that with these career sites, if there are any vacancies, if we already have a career site in place, it is quite easy to just advertise, of which it takes away from the manual posting. And within the candidates, when they see these vacancies, there is a customized application process which makes it quite easy for talent to actually apply for those specific vacancies that we have. Social networking platforms. Social networking sites are the place to find the most qualified potential recruits. And as a recruiter, you would not want to miss out on the massive pool of talent. With the combined users base of 535 million, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter offer you a perfect opportunity to end up with a highly skilled and efficient candidate for your company. So with most organizations, they are looking into social networking platforms because you'll find that with that's where you find most qualified potentials. So if you are recruiting, and you know that within these social, you find a number of 535 million candidates. It is something that most most employers looking into in terms of if you want to recruit people, and especially if you're looking for quite great talent, that is something that most organizers use. So if you are looking into recruiting, as we have mentioned, these are the platforms that you could utilize into ensuring that you recruit or you get as much CVs if you're looking into filling a specific position. Okay. Looking at placement agencies. So placement agencies are a perfect solution for those hard to fill vacancies that often demand a lot of time, effort, and resources. These agencies employ various tools and techniques to find top talent for your company faster at a reduced cost. So placement agencies, again, I did mention of rare talent. So you find that there is a position that you might have in an organization, and much as you've tried or maybe different. Oh, okay, wait. Sound is good. Okay, cool. Can you good. Okay, cool, great. So I think we're still just covering placement agencies. So as I did mention earlier, that there are certain instances where you find that it maybe the position that you have, it's one of those things where we call a rare skill, of which if you'd find if you've used your normal, maybe we use LinkedIn and we try maybe advertising using media and we print, but we're not getting exactly what we're looking for. So you might consider using placement agents, of which they help with this. And when they help with this, they make the process quite faster at a reduced cost, because at the end of the day, if we keep advertising and maybe we shortlist and then we interview and then maybe you're not getting what we're looking for and we keep repeating the process all over again, one, it contributes to the cost and time. So it is quite important sometimes to understand maybe the skill that we're looking for. It is a quite a rare skill, and maybe we opt to use placement agencies, which will make maybe fill that post faster, and we do that at a reduced cost. Okay. So we're going to look at job fairs. So with job fairs are not one-stop public event offering easy access to, So job fairs are one-stop public event offering easy access to a large pool of talent for bulk requirements. They bring you an opportunity to create a brand awareness without having to advertise, and you also get to network with other similar corporates while saving a lot of time and money. So job fairs are also one thing to look at, because you get to access and a bulk you get to see or to be exposed to a large pool of talent, and while doing this you also get to create a brand awareness, and while doing this you're advertising yourself, and it is done at a very quite reasonable cost, and it saves you a lot of time. So you'd find that with most organizations they look into that, and so with potential employers, if you're looking to recruit, that's another one thing to look at job fairs, because with this it puts you in a position where you could attract talent, of which maybe at a certain point you're not looking to employ, but you might find that you find certain skills, or you get exposed to individuals or candidates that you might need in future. So with that, it makes it easier to network and get exposed, and also advertise yourself as the company to employers or to potential employers who basically may be seeking employment and might have the skills that you might need currently or might want needing up in the future. Okay, so with campus placement are a quick and inexpensive way to find suitable candidates who are competent, energetic, enthusiastic, and most importantly, interesting in working for you. Okay, I think with campus placement, this one is quite self-explanatory. It's another adventure that most employers or potential employers look into bringing new talent, which is generally usually young, enthusiastic individuals who are looking into working for you or for your organization. Okay. Okay. My screen is stuck. Just give me a second. Okay. Second. Okay. So we're looking at professional bodies. So professional management bodies per functional area often have databases that are accessible. Some maintain an up-to-date database of trained, qualified professionals in their respective fields and make a great resource of tapping top industry talent. So if you're looking at professional bodies, so it's a database which has different people in different sectors or different professionals in different sectors. And if it's up to date, so some you'd find that they have a very quite up-to-date database. So with that, you know exactly if you're looking maybe for, if we're going to make an example, we're looking for I'm making a whole lot of example with the finance manager, but I'm going to make an example with the finance manager again. So if you're looking for a finance manager and we know exactly what skills that we need for that finance manager. So if we tap into these professional bodies or into these databases, with this, we get exactly what we're looking for and it saves time. And within that, we already know that that person is in that industry and they're seeking for an employment and they have the skills that we're looking. So if we approach them, already we know that they have the talent or the skills that we require, of which it makes the process quite easy and efficient. Okay. Good candidates should quickly and clearly highlight how their experience aligns with the available role. So earlier on, we spoke about knowing exactly what we want. So if we know exactly what we want or we know exactly what we're looking for, good candidates. So if we're browsing through a CV, or so already we've gotten a pool of people. So we've used all the platforms that we use to advertise. We've used that platform and we advertise, and we're starting to browse through CVs. So if you're looking at good candidates from the get-go, so from their experience or maybe from their education, okay, so from the skills that we want and the experience, it should easily align with what we're looking for. So if you're looking for maybe a courier driver who's going to do deliveries, so if you look at the experience and to what we're looking for, it should align perfectly, which makes it quite easy to pick out what we're looking for from the bunch of CVs that we have to what we're not looking for. Okay, so you need to revisit your job description and person specification for a reminder of what you're looking for. As I've mentioned here at HR Talk, we've done a number of recruitment for different organizations, of which it is quite important to revisit. So as much as we're going through the pile of applications, it is important to keep reminding ourselves exactly what we're looking for so that within the selection area, we know we're looking exactly what we're looking for, and we remind ourselves to know within this pile of 100 CV, this is what we're looking for. Okay, so it is important to not feel bad about scan reading applications. You will become skilled at this. After reading 100 CVs, you'll be able to spot the standard candidate a mile off. So as we've mentioned earlier, that it is important to keep revisiting the job description. So once you're going through this pile of CVs, by the time maybe you get to 50 CVs, you'd realize that you'd be basically getting good at it, because the moment the more you revisit and know exactly what you're looking for with application in front of you, it makes it quite easy to know this is what we're looking for, this is not what we're looking for. So it makes the process quite easy. Maybe at first you might with the first 10 CVs, you might take longer going through it, but once you go to your hundreds, it makes it easy. Once you're browsing through them, you know exactly maybe this is a CV that might be a potential candidate, or maybe this is not what we're looking for. Okay, no matter how well crafted your job description and person specification, you will always receive wildcards, and they shouldn't always be discredited. There are sometimes something about the CV which interests you for the role you have, okay, for other roles you have not even considered yet. Flexibility can pay off. As I did mention that with the low employment rate in South Africa, you'd find that you'd have a very clear description of what you're looking for, and people would still apply in hopes that maybe they're taking a chance, it might pay off. So you'd find that it's what we called wildcards. So within everything that you're going through, you'd realize that you have specifically mentioned what you need, and you'd find that people will take chances. So it is quite important to go through that and understand that as much as these are people who are seeking employment, but you are looking for specific skills, and you should not move away from that. And obviously, this point clearly states that no matter how specific your job description is, you might find that maybe within a CV, the skills that or within your job description, what you're looking for and the CV that you have in hand does not align. But somehow within that CV, there's just something about it. You'd find that in certain organization, you'd find that within the recruitment process, you might find that you're keeping that CV maybe for the position that you might not even have. So I think that's a part that we're noting here. The flexibility can pay off. That maybe I might be looking into employing a junior payroll consultant, but really within the pool of CVs that I have, I see something quite interesting, maybe with a tech or an IT person, and maybe we might not have a vacancy at this point in time. So keeping that CV, maybe in the long run, you might require an IT specialist or a tech person. You can always go back to that CV and you might contact that candidate, and so it makes the process quite easy because you're not doing the application all over again, because you've already seen something interesting and keep it aside and utilize it in future. So it's quite important to also not as much as there is a brief of what you're looking for, but it is quite important to be flexible and see certain skills that maybe within your field, you might know that we might be needing this in the future. Okay. So we're moving to number 5, into conducting interview. The key moment giving you invaluable contact time with your candidate is the interview stage. Good preparation is the key to getting the most out of the conversation. Enter knowing what you talk, enter knowing what talking points are most important to cover, including highlights from their CV or application, and of course, key requisites for the role. So it is important, if you are now moving into a stage of interviewing, and this is quite an important stage, because as much as you might go through someone's application or CV, having someone in person and actually having a conversation, this usually gives you a touch or feel of the person, and if you're seeing maybe as a potential person, if maybe they might be right, they might be a right fit within the organization. So it is quite important to utilize this process to its full maximum, and it is important to prepare yourself the questions that you need to ask, the key question that you're going to ask, and also highlighting maybe certain skills that they might have included in their CV and the experience that they have. So you walk into an interview knowing exactly where as the interviewer, where are you driving the conversation and what you're trying to get out of this applicant. Okay. We are also witnessing the rapid transformation of interview process through new video technologies, which is Teams, Zoom, and Skype. So I think with after COVID-19, the world moved into a virtual world in a way that I don't think most of us anticipated that it would. But it has shown that it is quite an efficient tool, that it's not always that we have to meet in person to maybe to have a conversation. So you'd find that within the recruiting, you'd find that some organizations have utilized these tools, which is Teams and Zoom and Skype, to actually interview candidates using these tools. And the plus side with this is the fact that maybe, let's say if we're based in Durban and we're recruiting for a specific position, we might not just limit our advertisement to just Durban. You can actually advertise to Joburg, Cape Town, anywhere where that applicants could apply. And when it comes to an interview, there are no cost attached maybe to getting maybe a candidate maybe from Cape Town or from Joburg to come to Durban. We can utilize Teams or Zoom to actually have an interview while that person maybe is far from Durban. So that's another way to attract a larger pool of people, and as much as they might be far from where you are based, you can utilize these tools to ensure that maybe you excuse me, you widen your search for people, and you might find that maybe you might find your perfect candidate maybe far off from where you are, but to reduce cost, you might do that maybe using these tools. Okay, so candidates' expectations are advancing, just as any consumer, with high desire for convenient mobile experience with seamless transition between digital and physical interaction with the brand. It is worth exploring how new tools and technologies can enhance your candidate experience throughout the process. Okay. So preparing questions that help deep dive into applicants' profession background to see how well they might have suited for your vacancy. You need avoiding asking abstract questions for the sake of seeing how they react. Keep the conversation relevant to the role rather than testing nerves for the sake of it. Remember, the interview are a two-way thing. Your candidates will be looking to see whether your business is the right fit for their career. So remember to be coaches and sell the benefits of the position and organization. So these are one of the three things to always bear in mind in preparing questions. The questions to avoid asking, and remembering that it is quite important that this is a two-way street. As much as we are interviewing this person as a potential employee, they're also trying to figure out if maybe this maybe as much as they got called in for an interview into HR talk, they may try to understand, see if maybe this is what they're looking for and how maybe they would be a great fit. So it's important to sell the position, the benefits of the organization as well, whilst you're having the interview with this person. Okay. It is also important to not ask hypothetical questions. Okay. So it's basically, so on something practical, your values as part of the job. Okay. So just covering what not to do, it's avoiding how would you do this or that. You'd always get a modern answer. So just to put that in an example, so if you have someone and you're doing an interview and you basically ask them perhaps maybe how would you do this, the answer would always, because the person is trying to sell themselves, and at the end of the day they are seeking employment, so the answer that would always be a modern answer. So the right way to ask these questions, maybe if you're trying to see how maybe the employer or potential employer might act in a certain situation, it's give an example of where you and follow up with what was the outcome. So it's asking, so to make an example, so if we maybe if you were recruiting for a sales position, if asking maybe a potential employee that have you ever give an example where maybe you've dealt with a difficult customer? So if they'll tap into their past experience, maybe they've dealt with a difficult consumer or customer. So with that, then you'd follow up and asking, then how did you handle it? So with that, the answer can never be a model answer, because somehow it's more of an example of which that's when you'd get to tap in and understand maybe how they can deal with difficult customers or how they might have dealt with difficult customers in the past. So it's quite important to ask the questions, because it's not basically the question that you ask, it's basically how you ask the questions. So it's quite important to ask your questions in asking them to give you an example and follow up with maybe if you need some sort of clarity with the outcome. Okay. So still on conducting interviews, this is a very crucial step of the selection process, because the information revealed from the assessment will help you know if your potential employees will perform and stay productive in the long haul. The screening is absolutely unbiased yet important in an eliminator that eventually identifies the right fit for any job. Okay, so if you're looking at psychometric tests, can be your reference model for any given position, because these tests specify the complete personal profile, behavior, flexibility, aptitude, creativity, communication, and problem-solving skills that you require to perform in a given position. By large tests, by and large, tests to fail into two brand of categories. Okay, so some tests are designed to evaluate personalities, qualities such as personality, values, interests, and beliefs. These are known as measures of typical performance. These test questions have no right or wrong answer, and the tests are commonly administered without a time limit. And other tests are designed to measure performance and typical measures ability, aptitude, or attain. These tests are known as measures of maximum performance. This question in these tests do have a right and a wrong answer, and these tests are usually administered with a fixed time limit. So If we're looking at psychometric tests, for instance, I'm going to look at HR Talk. We have a test that we usually give out to our potential candidates, which is called a discussed test, of which it basically gives out scenarios that are based in the workplace, of which within these questions, there's never a right or a wrong answer. But once an employee has completed this test, it usually gives out where firstly it looks into the potential how they might handle themselves in the workplace, where they might work well best suited, maybe how they deal with stress. So it usually gives you an idea how, if you're considering employing this person, how they might work, which sector I might base at. So I think with that, it's one of those tools that we use in understanding potential employees. And then you'd find that with certain sectors of employment as well, you'd find that there are certain tests which are quite crucial, where the answers with the questions that are asked, there would be a wrong and the right answer, and there would be a time limit. So those are the kind of tests that are done by certain employers, depending, and it differs from one sector to another. Okay. So careful consideration must be given to legislation around psychometric test. So looking at Employment Equity Act, as originally passed, placed limitation on the use of psychometric test in the occupational settings in South Africa. Specifically, it specified in Section 8 that psychometric test and related techniques need to have certain properties before they can be used legally to assess a person for a job. These are: tests must be reliable, tests must be valid, tests may not discriminate unfairly against any individual or group. It must be possible to use them fairly. So as much as we're looking into this test, which are psychometric test, it is quite important to bear in mind the Employment Equity Act, that within it, as much as we might utilize these tests to best see who might be the great potential employer if we take them in, it is quite important that these tests are reliable. They must be they must be valid. They must not discriminate unfairly to any individual or group, and it must be possible to use them fairly. So as much as we utilize these tests, we need to always bear this in mind, that it has to follow the Employment Act, which is Section 8. Okay, so note that it is allowed to discriminate on the basis of inherent requirements of the job. It's unfair to discriminate, which is forbidden. So it as just to make note of this. So discrimination, provided that it's fair, is not an issue. The only issue is if the discrimination is unfair. So for instance, if I can give you an example, if within the organization I require someone to be physically fit, maybe to carry things, and maybe so if I'm going to put out a test, which is a fair test, which is a valid test, which is a reliable test, that for employees, for me to employ them fully, they need to be able to do this. So if a person comes in and does the test and they fail, the reality is I did not discriminate that person unfairly, because there is no use for me to employ someone if they failed the actual test, of which when they are employed, they will not be able to do what is required. So in that instance, it would be discrimination, of which it would be fair discrimination, not that it would be unfair discrimination. I hope the difference between unfair discrimination and fair discrimination is understood. Okay. So reference checking, pre-employment checks. Once you've shortlisted your top candidate, it's time to check their references. We also do that here in HR Talk, because we've come to learn that everybody has a past, and certain candidates would omit certain details, maybe where they've worked before, maybe the reason they've left, maybe they've been dismissed, maybe for anything. So you'd find that certain employees would omit those details. So it is quite important to, as a potential employer, to do this reference check and pre-employment checks. Okay, so many employers miss this recruitment step, but it is essential to check your candidate's background to help make sure they are everything they claim to be. Hiring the wrong person can be eye-watering costly. We are going to explain this later. So as much as I did mention that it is quite important, because some employers would miss this step because they've done everything. They've gone through the CV looks good, or the applicant looks good. They've gotten the employer to come in, and they've had an interview. The person is well spoken, answered everything, and somehow they feel not to do this. The step of reference checking, and of which it's usually costly, because hiring the wrong person is usually quite costly. Okay, so pre-employment checks verification is an absolute must. With this, you'd find that we check criminal checks, credit checks, industry specific, such as qualification, sexual offences register, Child Protection Register Act. So these are the things that we look into, because you might find that someone would say if you'd ask them, do you have a criminal record? They'd say no. Not that if you're not taking your word, you're not trusting them, but the reality is that it's important to check credit checks. Also, it is important if we're looking at sexual offense register as well, child protection register as well. So if maybe you have a school, maybe you are a principal in a school and you're recruiting a potential teacher, it is quite important, or maybe a coach, it is important that we check within the child protection register if this person is not an offender. Because if you do not check and you take this person, they come into the school, it would be the result or the consequences of not doing it would be quite costly. Okay, so a well-crafted contract can be, okay, so that covers the checks. So contract and other documented. So a well-crafted contract cannot be overemphasized. Carefully consider which items or conditions are relevant and try to future-proof for changing condition while using the right language. Okay, so other documentations an employee needs to complete: risk benefit, tools of trade, laptop, a company car, if they're going to need, etc., retirement benefits, health assessment, medicals. If joining from another company, the exit medical from that company. Advisable to have these forms filled prior the person joining. It makes the day one administrating and setting much so easy. So these are the things that we look in before. So if we've employed the person, so before they actually come in for the day one, if we have this in place, it makes the day one of the employee quite easy. Okay. So if we're looking at, can we withdraw the job offer? You may be convinced that you found the perfect candidate. However, you might find that what we're looking for, it's not what we were looking for. So if we can withdraw a job offer, it depends on if it's an unconditional job offer or conditional job offer. Okay, cool. I think we have one question. Good day. Please elaborate on child protection sex offender register. I was told it does not exist in SA. So that's a question from Leanne. It's, good day. Please elaborate on the child protection sex offender register. I was told it does not exist in South Africa. Yes. So Lynette, it actually does exist in South Africa. So it is quite important that we check. There is a client of ours that we work with at Sunfield. So every employee is there because they work with mentally challenged people. Every year, I think it's done every year. I'll have to confirm that with sex offender. Every 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, we have to check if they're not on that register, because if you're on that register, you can't work or deal with people who are minors or mentally challenged, because you are at risk. And also with child protection, if for people like a coach, a pastor, a teacher, it is quite important to that you're not on you're not an offender. So it is important that we check that. We have a client that we work with, the guardian usually assist us when it comes to child protection, to check maybe if a person is an offender, but it is effective here in South Africa. Okay, no, you're welcome. So we were looking at withdrawing a job offer. So as I did mention, an unconditional job offer. An employer can withdraw an offer at any time until it's accepted. This means that once the application has accepted an unconditional job offer, there is no legal binding contract of employment between the employer and the applicant. If you decide not to hire the individual, they can take legal action against you for breach of contract. So if it's an unconditional job offer, once you've offered the person and they've accepted the offer, you can't take it back. So with the conditional job offer, a conditional job offer can be withdrawn if the applicant does not fulfill the conditions of the offer. The condition could include satisfactory references, a criminal check, a criminal record check, a qualification check, or health check. So you can withdraw a job offer, for instance, if a person claimed that, for instance, they don't have a criminal record, and if you go and then you actually check and then you find that they actually do have a criminal record, then you can withdraw the offer. So those are the two instances which is it needs to be understood where you can or you cannot withdraw the offer. Okay. So we are running a bit of time, so I'm just gonna just cover all the parts that are quite important. And what I'm going to do is we are going to be sharing the slides and with everybody who's attended, so for reference. Okay, so this is page number 7, is onboarding, how to make things easier when the employer comes in. So it is quite important to have that employer, to pair them with somebody who's going to make them quite easy, because coming into a new place of work, it usually feels awkward because you're not sure where to do, whom to talk to. To paying someone who's new, who comes in the organization, it is quite important. It makes them easy, and then maybe you show them when the toilets are on the lunch. But if they have someone who's basically going to be their buddy, it makes it quite easy for that new employee. So we're going to cover recruitment's gone wrong. A question. Okay, let's see. The question is, please, okay, wait. A reason being, it's crucial. Is it from? Okay, cool. Can the job offer be made conditional? Example, notice period to be made 8 weeks. Okay, so with a notice of period, okay, cool. Can a job offer be made conditional? Example, notice period 8 weeks. Okay, so I think in that instance, when we're looking at the offer, if the person, because with the basic, normally if an employee has been in an organization for a year or longer, that employee is only eligible to have to serve a 4 weeks notice. So it's a month. So in an instance where maybe a person would say that they have to serve 8 weeks notice, as an employer, and depending of which how soon you'd like to fill that position, then we can go into a conditional job offer. Okay, because the question also depends on you as an employer. Would you be able to hold that position, or would you able the organization to function for 2 months? Because normally, as I've mentioned, that a person has a 1 month, if they've worked a year or longer, you'd expect that person to serve a 4 weeks. So now if it's an 8-week notice, then the conversation is, as you're recruiting as an employer, can you be able to? So I think at that point with that potential employer, it's usually a conversation. If they're saying that they have to serve 8 weeks, maybe it's understanding maybe why is that, and also on your part, can the business function without filling that position for that long? Okay, I hope that answers the question. So looking at employee going wrong, how do you know you recruited badly? Okay, I'm just going to cover the red flags. The employer is not producing the quality of work you agreed upon after the appropriate training and the learning period. The employee does not have the set of skills they claim to have in the interview. They are continuously underperforming and missing necessary key performance indicators. The employee has bad attitude and frequently disagree or critical, or does not embrace the company culture. That's when you should realize that maybe within the stages that we went through, we missed one and we've done a bad recruitment. So there's a number of red flags of which you can realize that you've done a bad hire. So focusing, how do we fix this? It's identifying the problem and the reason behind it. Okay, rushing to fill the position or hiring based on the resume opposed to a skill set, listing adequate talent requirement skills, or failing to check job references. So if we've missed a step on all that we've mentioned, you might realize that maybe we did not do the reference check, because it's also important if maybe the employee was working somewhere else, maybe to find out the reason that they left. So if you might have not done a reference check, you might not find that out. And you'd find that with certain employees, with references, they might include the company, but put their friend's number, because they know that they did not leave in a right note. So that's why within HR Talk, when you're doing references, we do not use the number that's on the CV, but what we do is, if maybe, for instance, someone put that they used to work at Spa, maybe Spa Glenwood, would Google Spa Glenwood, would call the number that we find on Google and ask and do the reference. Okay, there's a question. Comment, okay. They're hiring badly can also be as a result of the employer misinterpreting the job understanding. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, the hiring badly can also be a result of the employer mispresenting the job of themselves, not fully understanding the job. Yes, Katlego. So on the first part, I think that's when we said that it is quite important to understand what we're looking for. So you might wind up doing a bad hire because you did not understand from the get-go what you were looking for, or exactly what you needed. So if an employer does not understand that, most likely they might do a bad hire because they're not quite certain of the skills that they need. So in resolving basically a bad hire, it is quite important to firstly try to understand. So have a chat with the employee as soon as possible. Try to understand, maybe have a conversation with them. Train if training is required. Of which, if it does not change, that's when we move into because obviously when the employee is coming in, there's usually probation. So within that space, if you'd find that within the training and consulting, maybe the employer is not, maybe there's no difference, then we could move into terminating, of which, if it's in most cases, if it's bad attitude, you cannot fix a bad attitude. If it's bad attitude, and most likely, but you might find that maybe the employee that you've employed might not work based in the position that if you employed them in, but somehow you might find that they might excel in a certain position, but you can also look and maybe into moving into a certain position. But if it's just bad attitude, we might look into terminating. And what do? We go back maybe to the people that we had shortlisted, and within those people, we look into it, we look into them, and we do the process properly, and then we'd find that we might find the talent to fix the mistake that we might have done maybe with the first recruitment. Okay, I'm sorry, I just had to rush within those last slides. I see that we were running out of time. I think I'm just gonna open up the floor now to any questions or any comments. They're more than welcome. This is the chance. I hope that I didn't go too fast, and I hope that within the presentation all was clear and my example did make sense. Okay, so with the lack of questions, I would assume that everything went well. This training is going to be available on our HR Talk YouTube page. So you're more than welcome to check it out. If at any point maybe there's anything that I missed, or maybe the answers maybe I gave wasn't quite clear, you're more than welcome to contact us directly. You can email me at sabelo.g@hrtalk.co.za. I would more than welcome. I'll be more than happy to assist and clear up anything. But thank you very much for joining us on our training today. How do we join the other sessions for 100 Rand? Katlego. Katlego, you can send an email to hra@hrtalk.co.za. We usually have our HR mini trainings every Tuesday. They cover a number of different topics, which are quite helpful. So please, you can just pop in an email there. I will be able to assist. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, for your time. I hope you have a splendid day. Thank you.